Hey everyone, so I just want to start this video by doing a quick intro by telling you what's coming up, what are my upcoming videos, because I've been getting a great response from you guys. I've been seeing thousands of views and hundreds of comments. A lot of gamers getting mad at me, so that's kind of making me laugh a little bit, so it's being a little bit of an enjoyable experience. But I have a BIOS video coming up to show you how to set up the BIOS for the Asus Prime Z270A Aurora Sync motherboard. So that video is coming up. I have a video showing the clock speeds of these cards on this rig. So that's going to actually be released before or at the same time as this rig video that you're watching. So take a look for that. I'm not sure what I'm going to name it yet, and I'm also going to do a simple mining video, because that's the OS that I'm using. I'm using Simple Mining OS with this, and a lot of people don't know how to install it on a USB. They don't know where to find the operating system, and they don't know how to use it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a video showing how to download, install it on the USB, take it over to your computer, plug it in. It's going to tie in a little bit with the BIOS, so you're going to have to watch the BIOS and see how the BIOS is set up to actually to get this Simple Mining OS to work. In this Simple Mining OS walkthrough, I'm just going to assume you watched the BIOS video. So if you set up the BIOS video the way I did, if you set up your BIOS the way I did in my BIOS video, it'll boot up on the USB and you'll be golden. All you have to do is go to the web portal, which I'll show you how to do, and you can play with your clock speeds and temps and electricity usage of those cards. So that's it. I'm just going to get right into the video. So we have quite a few comments, and I posted the video at 2:30 in the morning, so it wasn't very good production quality. It was bad lighting, and that's my fault. I just wanted to share with you guys as soon as I got it up and running and stable what it looked like, and how much hash you can get off a single motherboard. So people have been asking me, what OS are you using? How are you getting 11 cards on a single rig? Because I can't get more than 8. And my response will be to everyone, and in this video, if you ask me what OS I'm using, I'm just going to ignore the comments, because I'm literally copy and pasting Simple Mining OS through all my comments, and there's like 500 comments on there, and every time I see what OS you're using, I'm just copy and pasting. But I'm using Simple Mining OS, and I'll be making a video on how to install and use it, so that's coming up. So Simple Mining OS, you can find it at simplemining.net. Sorry. So people have been also asking me, what's your load balance with this? How are you balancing the electricity load between all of these cards? And my answer to that is this power supply is a 1500 watt titanium rated power supply, and it is powering the 8-pin connections. So when I say 8-pin, I mean the ones at the top right there. Right there. So those 8-pin connections going into the tops of the cards, it powers all 11 8-pin connections on all these cards. This power supply alone. No other power supply. It also powers 7 risers. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And they're in that order. From this card all the way over, this power supply right here is powering the risers for all of those. That's it. That's all this power supply is doing. It's not doing anything else. It's not even plugged into the motherboard. It's actually using, see if I can focus here. It's an EVGA detection tool. It thinks it detects a motherboard, so it turns on as it would if it was plugged into a motherboard and powered on. And yeah, it delivers electricity where it's needed. So this power supply here, so this is going to be, you know, the power supply that powers the motherboard, the processor. That's a given. It also powers these M.2 slots. So these M.2 to PCIe cards, and I don't know if anyone, I'm just gonna get a little off track. These are the version 2s. So the people that are on my channel, they know I'm very adamant about using SATA power only. I specifically sourced these because they are SATA power, and I know that a lot of the ones that people are using are Molex power, and I don't ever want to use a Molex power one, just because I know there's big risks in that. So anyway, these are version 2 PCIe to M.2 slot cards, and they use the SATA power. So look for the version 2 if you are going to get some of these chips, and you'll be good to go with SATA power. So anyway, get off topic a little bit. This power supply is powering both these two M.2 slots, and it is powering these two expander chips, alright, and it is powering these 4 cards right here, the risers that is. So the 4 risers, the 2 PCIe to M.2 slots, and these 2 expansion cards, which also use SATA power. Oh yes, a gripe someone was telling me about is these don't actually need to be plugged into SATA power, and that's true, they don't. I can actually unplug this, it'll work just fine, but the problem is, if you see, I want to get focused real nice here, you see that little tiny notch right there where there's only like 3 or 4 pins on that little tiny socket? That's where all of the electricity for this little chip's going to come from. So would you rather it coming from this 4-wire to 4-pin thing that was manufactured for it, or would you rather it come through that little tiny notch? And if you just take a look of how thin this plastic is, it's not meant to deliver a huge amount of electricity, and there's no way of measuring how much electricity is actually flowing through there. So I'd rather be safe rather than just getting it to work and doing things right the way they're manufactured to be done. And yeah, so that's what I'm going to be doing. So quick overview. Power supply is powering 11 cards, the 8-pin connections for 11 cards. It's also powering the risers for 7 of them. This power supply is powering the 2 M.2s, the 2 expander cards, and 4 risers for the GPUs. The other thing someone was asking me is how many GPUs can you get on this expander chip, and why am I only using 2 cards per expander chip when there's a 3rd slot here? And that's an easy question. When you plug a 3rd one in, you either get thread errors or major rig instability. So the rig will be running for, I don't know, like 5-10 minutes. It'll shut down because it had a thread error or CPU thread 0 locked up. And it says hard lock or something. So you get like you get quite a few errors, and I'm not sure if it's just this these chips that aren't manufactured properly, like not a defect, so to speak, but like they need to have a revision of their design to work with Kaby Lake and Skylake processors. I don't know what they were using before that, but maybe the manufacturer of this, if you're watching this, take off the 3rd slot until you fix the problem so that people aren't getting confused. So these cards can only handle 2 risers per chip, and you can't plug another one in or else you'll get thread errors and CPU lockups. So there's that. People want to know the cost for this rig, and that's when I run into a little bit of a confusing situation. I'm in Canada. So a lot of my viewers, I think 40% of you are American, some of you are from Indonesia, India, Australia, China, those types of places. I know a lot of my viewers are from Japan as well. So I'm going to do things in the most relatable sense because everyone measures it in US dollars. But unfortunately I can't do a conversion for all of this stuff to US dollars because in the US you guys have a miner market. You have this market that's consumed with all these miners. You have miners flying to other states to pick up equipment, and it's causing prices to be jacked up because there's a lot of scalpers in there, down there. In Canada, we don't have this problem. We have GPUs being sold out, sure, but not to the extent that you guys have them back ordered to. So Canada, our MSRP is still MSRP. We have a few scalpers on, you know, like local buy and sell sites, and on Newegg there's a couple stores that, you know, charge a finder's fee. but no one really buys from them. They just wait for the actual cards to come out at MSRP and then they buy them again. That's what I do anyway. So anyway, MSRP, these cards cost 379 Canadian dollars, and they come with a 13% tax. So our taxes are a little bit higher than America, and the prices of the GPU is a little bit higher, but if you convert it to American dollars, or if you buy it in America, then it might be higher or lower depending. I'm not quite sure. But anyway, we have an 11 card rig at about $425 per card after taxes. This before taxes is $600. This before taxes is $290. This is a $260 motherboard, a $100 processor, and an $80 stick of RAM. It's an 8 GB. The risers cost about, let's see, $10 each. $10 Canadian each. So all this is in Canadian dollars, please remember that. So $10 each for the risers. And these M.2 chips, they're actually fairly cheap. They only cost me about $5 to $10 Canadian, depending on which seller I buy them from, because the sellers, they don't have that much stock, so you grab them where you can. These chips are actually really expensive. They cost about $60 Canadian per one. I actually got lucky on one of these two, and I got one for $45 Canadian, so I was really lucky right there. But yeah, so the total cost in Canadian dollars is going to be about anywhere between 5,000 and 6,000 Canadian dollars. And I know that sounds like a lot, and it is. It seriously is. It's a lot of money, but when you factor in the ROI, which also people are wondering, it takes the pain away. I get $2,100 and I think $85 a month in Ethereum from this rig. So, you know, it's gonna be made up. So it only takes about 2 to 2.5 months to make your money back on this rig. So that's your ROI time, 2 to 2.5 months. It's just a big investment up front. After that, you'll be making good money for a long time. Let's see. So I did cost, I did ROI. Comments. There's a lot of comments. They're asking me a lot of the same questions. So, like I said in the beginning of the video, you know, what OS are you using? And it's just a lot of the repeated questions. So, like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm going to be making dedicated videos with titles of the videos that kind of match the questions that someone might ask if they were having some type of problem. I'm going to keep the videos nice and short as possible, and because I know if I was looking for a solution, I didn't want to listen to someone talk for, what is it, 13-20 seconds now, just to get my answer. I want, you know, my answer right then and there so I can get my rig up and running and I can start mining. So I'm going to be making those videos. Again, it's just going to be the BIOS video for this rig. It's going to be showing the clocks for this rig, which will be up at the same time or before this video. And I will do a simple mining installation, setup, and demonstration for you guys. I believe that is it. Oh yes, someone's asked me how many GPUs did I connect directly to the board besides the expansion cards and M.2 slots. So here I have 5 cards directly connected to the motherboard, and then I have 2 indirectly connected through the M.2 slots, and then I have 4 connected through these expansion cards, and the expansion cards are plugged into the 8X slot and the 4X slot on the motherboard. See if I can focus, sorry guys. So the 8X slot and the 4X slot on the motherboard. And yeah, this rig has been running for 26 hours now. It's been running for 26 hours and some odd minutes and seconds. You can see it on Simple Mining OS. Actually, it shows you rig uptime. And it hasn't had a single minor restart. It hasn't had a hard shutdown. It's running fully stable. I did underclock it to save a lot of electricity. So I am only using about 100 watts per card now, or I think 95 I got it down to. I'm using power stage 2 and they recommend minimum 4, so yeah, that's a good thing. Anyway, so this video is getting a little bit long, so I'm going to cut it here. Just one favor before I go. These videos are getting a little time consuming to make and edit and post and all of this type of stuff, and answering your questions is really time consuming. I'm getting hundreds of questions at a time. So if you could help me out in one of two ways, either donate to one of the addresses in the description, or just disable ad blocker before you click on this video, it'd be much appreciated. It'd help me answer your questions faster so I can dedicate more time to that, and so I can post more videos that are of higher quality to get you guys the content you want. But anyway, I'll see you later in the next video. Bye.